The galaxy trembled with endless violence. Three massive alien empires had been fighting each other for 200 years without stop. The Zephyrian Empire controlled thousands of star systems with their giant hive ships that moved like angry swarms of metal insects. The Corvan Federation built their fleets from pure energy that could bend space and time itself. The Vicari Dominion used their powerful mind abilities to control battles from the dark corners of space where no one could see them coming. Each empire owned about 1/3 of all known space in the galaxy. Their war zones stretched across 10,000 different star systems. Sometimes the Zephyrians would push forward and take new planets. Other times the Corvans would strike back with their energy weapons that could destroy entire moons. The Vicari would wait and watch, then attack when their enemies were tired and weak. The fighting never ended and millions of beings died every single day. But far away from all this violence, on the very edge of the galaxy, a small blue planet called Earth spun quietly around its yellow sun. The people living there had no idea that such terrible wars were happening so close to their home. Earth had just learned how to travel faster than light speed only a few months ago. It was like a baby taking its first steps while giants fought with swords right outside the door. Captain Kim Jae-ho was a brave man who loved exploring new places. He commanded Earth's very first deep space ship, called the Stellar Dawn. The ship was not very big compared to alien warships, but it was the best that humans could build. Kim had been chosen to lead this mission because he was smart, careful, and good at making quick decisions when things went wrong. The ship had been traveling through empty space for 3 weeks, looking for new planets and trying to map the galaxy. The crew was excited because they were the first humans to go so far from home. They had no weapons because they came in peace, hoping to find friendly neighbors among the stars. Lieutenant Park So-ra sat at her communication station, listening to radio signals from across the galaxy. She was young but very skilled at her job. Her fingers moved quickly across the glowing control panels as she tried to understand the strange sounds coming through space. "Captain, we're picking up some unusual transmissions," she called out. Her voice showed she was worried about what she was hearing. Captain Kim walked over to her station and looked at the data on her screens. Green and blue lights flashed in patterns he had never seen before. "Any idea what we're looking at, Lieutenant?" Park shook her head slowly. "The encryption is unlike anything in our databases. But the transmission patterns? They look like battle coordinates, sir." Dr. Lee Min-ho, the ship's expert on alien life, came over to listen. He was an older man who had studied space for many years, but even he looked confused. "These signals are coming from multiple directions. And they're all different from each other." Suddenly, the ship's sensors started beeping loudly. Through the main view screen, they could see distant stars beginning to flicker with strange, unnatural light. The light was not the normal glow of suns, but something much more violent and angry. "Captain, you need to see this," called out Ensign Choi Min-seo from the navigation station. "Long-range sensors are picking up massive energy readings. Something big is happening out there." What they witnessed next would change everything for humanity forever. In the distance they watched a huge battle between alien fleets. Crystalline ships that looked like living diamonds moved through space, bending light and gravity around them like magic. These were Corvan Federation vessels, though the humans did not know their names yet. Fighting against them were organic ships that looked like giant sea creatures swimming through the stars. These Zephyrian vessels moved in perfect formation like a school of fish, but each one was the size of a small city. Green energy beams shot between the fleets like deadly lightning. "My God," whispered Dr. Lee Min-ho as he recorded everything with shaking hands. "Captain, we need to report this immediately. We're not alone out here, and it looks like our neighbors are very busy killing each other." The battle lasted for hours. The human crew watched in amazement and fear as alien technologies beyond their understanding clashed in the darkness. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes that lit up entire solar systems. Some vessels simply vanished as if they had been erased from existence. Captain Kim ordered his crew to stay hidden and record everything they could. "We need to learn as much as possible," he said quietly. "This changes everything we thought we knew about the galaxy." As they watched, more ships appeared. These new vessels were different from the others. They seemed to phase in and out of normal space like ghosts. The Vicari had joined the battle, using their psychic powers to attack the minds of enemy crews. The three-way battle raged on with no clear winner. Each side had weapons and abilities that the others struggled to defend against. It was clear that this war had been going on for a very long time, and none of the sides was close to victory. Lieutenant Park continued monitoring communications. "Sir, I'm detecting at least 3 different languages or codes. These aren't just 2 groups fighting, there are 3 separate factions out there." Dr. Lee finished his recordings and turned to the captain. Sir, this war must have been going on for decades, maybe centuries. The technology gaps between these species and us were like ants watching eagles fight. The war that had consumed the galaxy for 200 years was about to gain a fourth player. None of the ancient alien empires knew that a small, curious species from the galaxy's edge had just discovered their existence. And none of them could have predicted what would happen when humanity decided to step into their ancient conflict. 3 weeks had passed since the crew of the Stellar Dawn first witnessed the Great Galactic War. Captain Kim Jae-ho had decided to explore deeper into space, following the same careful methods that Earth scientists had taught him. He wanted to learn more about these alien civilizations, but he also wanted to keep his crew safe. The ship moved slowly through a region of space that seemed empty and quiet. There were no planets nearby, just old stars and floating rocks. Dr. Lee Min-ho was studying the star charts when the ship's alarm suddenly started ringing. "Captain, to the bridge," called out Ensign Choi Min-seo from her position at the tactical station. Her voice was tight with worry. Captain Kim ran to the bridge and took his seat. "What do we have, Ensign?" 67 contacts, bearing 27 Mark IV, Min-seo announced, her fingers flying over her control panel. "They're moving in perfect formation, sir. I've never seen anything like it." Through the main view screen they could see the alien ships approaching. They looked like a swarm of giant metal insects, each one about the size of a city block. The ships moved together as if they shared one mind, turning and diving through space in exact synchronization. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Lieutenant Park So-ra looked up from her communication station with wide eyes. "Captain, they're surrounding us. They're moving so fast but they're not making any mistakes. It's like they're all controlled by the same person." The alien vessels formed a perfect sphere around the human ship. The Stellar Dawn was trapped in the center like a fish caught in a net. The alien ships were close enough now that the crew could see details on their hulls. They were covered in strange symbols and had weapons that glowed with green energy. Inside the largest alien ship, Commander Nare of Hive Node 779 connected her mind to the collective consciousness of her people. The Zephyrians had been fighting wars for 200 years, and they had learned to identify every known species in the galaxy. But this small ship was something new. Nare sent the standard warning message that the Zephyrians had used for decades: submit for processing or be destroyed. It was simple and clear. Every species understood this choice. They either surrendered to become part of the Zephyrian Empire or they died. But Captain Kim Jae-ho did something that no alien commander had ever done before. Instead of begging for mercy or preparing to fight, he responded with genuine curiosity and friendliness. "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Kim of the Earth ship Stellar Dawn. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic contact." The message traveled to Nare's ship and then instantly to every other Zephyrian vessel through their shared mind connection. For the first time in 2 centuries the entire hive mind paused. Peace? Diplomacy? These were words they had heard before, but only as tricks that enemies used to buy time before attacking. Lieutenant Park So-ra watched her sensor readings with amazement. "Captain, they've stopped moving." All of them, simultaneously. Dr. Lee Min-ho leaned forward in his chair, his eyes bright with scientific excitement. "Hive mind. They're consulting with each other, trying to categorize us." The Zephyrian collective was indeed trying to understand what they were seeing. In their shared consciousness, thousands of voices spoke at once. Some said the humans were a new type of weapon sent by their enemies. Others thought it might be a trap. A few wondered if this could be a species they had never encountered before. Nare had to make a decision. The hive mind's battle computers ran through millions of scenarios in seconds. Every calculation said the same thing. Unknown variables were dangerous variables. The safe choice was to destroy the human ship before it could cause problems. The Zephyrian ships opened fire with their green energy weapons. Bright beams of light shot toward the Stellar Dawn from all directions. But Captain Kim Jae-ho was ready for this possibility. "Evasive maneuvers," he ordered. "All power to shields." The human ship twisted and turned through space, dodging the alien weapons with moves that seemed impossible. But Captain Kim did something else that confused the Zephyrians even more. While his ship was dancing through the laser fire, he ordered Lieutenant Park to broadcast something very strange. "Transmit everything," Kim ordered. "Mathematical principles, music, art, literature. Show them who we are." Park's fingers worked quickly over her controls. Soon, radio waves were streaming out from the Stellar Dawn carrying the mathematical formula for pi, Beethoven's Symphony No. 9, pictures of Earth's mountains and oceans, and poems written by humans centuries ago. The Zephyrian hive mind received this information and stopped firing. What were these transmissions? Why would a species under attack send mathematical equations and music instead of threats or surrender offers? The humans were not behaving like any enemy they had ever fought. Commander Nare felt something she had never experienced in her connection to the hive mind: confusion. Pure, complete confusion. The battle computers could not predict what the humans would do next because humans were not following any logical pattern. The skirmish lasted only a few minutes, but its effects would spread across the entire galaxy. The Stellar Dawn managed to escape when the Zephyrians hesitated, unsure how to respond to an enemy that sent them poetry while running away. Far across the galaxy, the Corvin Federation's energy beings detected the unusual battle through their sensors. They noticed strange energy patterns that did not match any known species. The readings showed weapons fire, but also something else: complex information transmissions that seemed almost random. Deep in the dark regions of space, the Carey psychics felt something touching the edges of their collective consciousness. New minds had entered their sphere of awareness. These minds felt different from anything they had sensed before. They were chaotic but not angry, curious but not afraid, small but somehow very strong. The three ancient empires that had been fighting each other for 2 centuries suddenly had something new to think about. Somewhere near a small yellow star on the edge of the galaxy, a 4th player had entered their game. And none of them knew what to expect next. 6 months after first contact, Ambassador Han Eugene found herself standing in the most important room in the galaxy. The space station New Harmony floated in empty space between the 3 alien empires, far from any star or planet. It had been built quickly by human engineers as a place where the warring species could meet without fear of attack. The diplomatic chamber was round, with windows showing the stars outside. 4 chairs had been arranged around a circular table, each one designed for a different type of being. The lighting was soft and warm, chosen to make everyone feel comfortable. But despite all the careful planning, the tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Eugene was a small woman with kind eyes and a gentle voice, but she had been chosen for this job because she was also very smart and brave. She had spent months learning about the 3 alien species, studying their languages, cultures, and ways of thinking. She knew this meeting might be humanity's only chance to prevent a war that could destroy entire solar systems. To her left sat the Zephyrian speaker node, a creature that looked like it was made of living crystal and metal. Its body was covered in a hard shell that reflected the room's lights like a prism, creating rainbow patterns on the walls. The speaker node had dozens of eyes that could see in all directions at once, and when it moved, Eugene could hear a soft buzzing sound as it communicated with other Zephyrians across the galaxy through their shared mind connection. Across the table from Eugene, the Corvin delegate was unlike anything she had ever imagined. It had no solid body at all, existing as a shifting pattern of pure energy contained within a glowing force field. The energy changed colors constantly, flowing from blue to green to red and back again. When it spoke, its voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. The 3rd alien was Ambassador Mortesh of the Carey Dominion. He looked somewhat like a giant octopus, but his skin was smooth and gray, and his large eyes showed an intelligence that was both ancient and deeply curious. His 8 tentacles moved constantly in complex patterns, and Eugene had learned that this was how his people expressed emotions and complex ideas. The proposal before us, Eugene began, speaking slowly and clearly, is unprecedented. Instead of asking humanity to choose sides in your conflict, we suggest a 4-way ceasefire and mediated peace talks. The Zephyrian speaker node's many eyes focused on her with mechanical precision. When it spoke, its voice sounded like several people talking at once, which was exactly what was happening through its hive-mind connection. This unit does not understand, the speaker node said. War state has existed for 7,243 standard cycles. Peace concept is not functional. All species must choose, join the collective or be destroyed. There is no third option. The Corvin delegate's energy pattern shifted to a deep, angry red. Your species lacks understanding of our fundamental incompatibilities, it said, its voice echoing strangely in the chamber. We exist as pure thought, free from the limitations of physical form. The Zephyrians are collective flesh, bound together in primitive hive minds. The Vicari invade minds without permission, violating the sanctity of individual consciousness. These differences cannot be reconciled. Ambassador Mortesh's tentacles moved in what Eugene had learned was their equivalent of a smile. It was a graceful, flowing movement that somehow conveyed both amusement and sadness. The human minds are refreshing, he said, his voice soft and musical. Your thoughts taste of possibility where others taste of limitation. But possibility alone cannot change the nature of reality. While these talks were happening back on Earth, Admiral Song Ji-woo was looking at military reports that made her very worried. She stood in the command center of Earth's defense force, surrounded by screens showing ship movements across the galaxy. Her aide, Colonel Lee Dahai, brought her the latest intelligence updates. "Ma'am," Colonel Lee reported, "intelligence suggests all three factions are positioning assets near human colonies. They're not just negotiating, they're preparing for war." Admiral Song studied the star maps showing alien fleet movements. Red dots marked Zephyrian ships, blue dots showed Corvin energy constructs, and green dots indicated the carry vessels. All three colors were moving closer to human settlements. "Then we prepare as well," Song replied, her voice calm but determined. "But remember, Colonel, our goal isn't to win a war. It's to prevent one." Back on the station, the negotiations were not going well. Each alien species had spent centuries developing hatred and fear for the others. The Zephyrians saw the Corvins as chaos that needed to be organized. The Corvins viewed the Zephyrians as primitive minds that could never understand true freedom. The Vicari considered both species to be incomplete because they could not share thoughts and emotions directly. Ambassador Eugene tried a different approach. She stood up and walked around the table, looking each delegate in the eye as she spoke. "You've been fighting for centuries because each of you sees the others as threats to be eliminated," she said. "What if, instead, you saw them as perspectives to be understood? What if your differences could be strengths instead of weaknesses?" The Zephyrian speaker node tilted its head, processing this idea through thousands of connected minds. "Explain this concept. How can difference be strength?" "On Earth," Eugene explained, "we have many different cultures, languages, and ways of thinking. For a long time we fought about these differences too. But we discovered that when we work together, we can solve problems that none of us could handle alone." The Corvin delegate's energy pattern shifted to a confused yellow. "But your species is fundamentally similar. We three are fundamentally different. We cannot even exist in the same physical space safely." Ambassador Mortesh's tentacles moved thoughtfully. "The human speaks of harmony between chaos and order. It is a beautiful thought, but can it exist in reality?" Eugene looked at each of them with hope in her eyes. "That's what we're here to find out." The alien delegates looked at her with expressions ranging from confusion to disbelief. The concept she was proposing was so foreign to their thinking that none of them had words to respond. After 2 centuries of war, the idea that peace might be possible seemed like madness. The chamber fell silent except for the soft hum of the station's life support systems. But in that silence, something important was happening. For the first time in thousands of years, 3 ancient enemies were actually considering the possibility that there might be another way. That silence would prove to be the sound of an old order beginning to crack. The peace talks on Station New Harmony had been going on for 3 days when everything went terribly wrong. Ambassador Han Eugene was speaking about ways the different species could work together when she suddenly felt something horrible invading her mind. It started as a whisper, then became a roar that filled her thoughts with alien ideas and emotions. The psychic attack came without any warning at all. One moment Eugene was explaining human history to the alien delegates, and the next moment she was screaming and falling to the floor. Her hands clutched her head as invisible mental energy poured into her brain like acid. The Vicari were trying to take control of her mind and make her think what they wanted her to think. But something unexpected happened. Instead of her mind breaking under the psychic pressure like the Vicari expected, Eugene fought back. Her human brain bent and twisted under the mental assault, but it did not snap. The aliens had never encountered a mind that could resist their powers through pure stubborn willpower alone. "Get away from her," shouted Colonel Lee Dahai as she burst through the chamber doors. She had her weapon drawn and was ready to shoot anyone who threatened the ambassador. Dahai had been waiting outside the meeting room when she heard Eugene's screams. Ambassador Mortesh, the official Vicari representative, looked shocked and angry. His tentacles waved frantically as he tried to understand what was happening. "This is not authorized," he said in his musical voice. "The war faction acts without permission." The Zephyrian speaker node's crystal body flashed with bright lights as it communicated rapidly with the hive mind. Vicari betrayal detected. Peace talks terminated. War state resumed. The Corvin delegate's energy pattern shifted to bright red with anger. "The mind invaders have shown their true nature. Negotiations are meaningless. We return to battle." Eugene managed to stand up, her face pale but her eyes still determined. The psychic attack had failed, but the damage to the peace process was complete. The rogue Vicari faction had wanted to control the human negotiators and force an alliance, but instead they had destroyed the only chance for peace that the galaxy had seen in centuries. Thousands of light-years away, Admiral Song Ji-woo was reviewing battle reports in Earth's military command center when the emergency message arrived. Her communication officer, a young woman named Lieutenant Yumira, looked up from her station with fear in her eyes. "Admiral, urgent message from Alpha Centauri colony," Miare reported. "They're under attack by massive alien fleets. All 3 species, sir. They're working together to attack our settlement." Song stood up quickly, her mind already shifting into battle mode. "All ships to battle stations," she ordered. "Send the emergency signal to every human vessel in space. This is not a drill." The Alpha Centauri colony was humanity's first settlement outside Earth's solar system. 50,000 humans lived there, including many families with young children. If the colony fell, it would be a terrible blow to human morale and expansion plans. Captain Park Jin-woo had been promoted after the first contact incident and now commanded the destroyer Rising Phoenix. He received Admiral Song's battle orders while his ship was patrolling near Jupiter. His crew was experienced and ready for combat, but they had never faced a full-scale alien attack before. "All hands, prepare for hyperspace jump," Jin-woo announced over the ship's communication system. "We're going to war." The Rising Phoenix and 12 other human warships jumped through hyperspace toward Alpha Centauri. When they arrived, they found a massive battle already in progress. Hundreds of alien ships surrounded the human colony, firing energy weapons that lit up space like deadly fireworks. Lieutenant Kim So-young, Jin-woo's tactical officer, studied the alien fleet movements on her screens. What she saw amazed her. "Sir, they're fighting each other as much as they're fighting us. The Zephyrians are using predictable swarming patterns, moving their ships in perfect formations. The Corvins are following geometric attack plans, their energy constructs forming mathematical shapes as they advance. And the Vicari are trying to coordinate through psychic links that were somehow jamming just by existing." Captain Jin-woo smiled grimly. "Then we use that confusion to our advantage. All ships, implement Chaos Protocol 7. Let's show them what unpredictability looks like." Chaos Protocol 7 was a battle plan that no alien species could understand because it was based on human creativity and random thinking. Human ships would pretend to retreat, then suddenly attack from directions that made no logical sense. They would hide behind asteroids, use broken ship parts as camouflage, and even disguise military vessels as harmless cargo transports. The battle that followed became legendary in human history. The Rising Phoenix appeared to run away from a group of Zephyrian ships, leading them into an asteroid field where human fighters were waiting in ambush. The destroyer Earth's Pride pretended to be damaged and drifting helplessly, then opened fire when Corvin energy beings came close to investigate. Most surprising of all, human ships began using civilian transport vessels as decoys. The aliens would attack what they thought were helpless cargo ships, only to discover that the transports were actually military vessels in disguise, while the real civilian ships had been evacuated hours earlier. Dr. Oh Sung-min was monitoring the battle from a research station near Mars. As a scientist who studied how different species evolved, he suddenly understood why humans were winning against superior alien technology. "Admiral," he said over the communication link to Song's command ship, "I know why we're winning. Every other species in this galaxy evolved on worlds where cooperation within their species was essential for survival. The Zephyrians developed hive minds, the Corvins became collective energy beings, and the Vicari learned to share thoughts. But humans evolved through constant competition with each other. We're the only species that learned to be unpredictable as a survival trait." The alien fleets began retreating in confusion. Their battle computers could not calculate what the humans would do next because human tactics changed every few minutes based on creativity rather than logic. Zephyrian hive minds became paralyzed trying to process too many random variables. Corvin mathematical thinking could not solve equations with no consistent patterns. The Vicari psychic coordination failed because human minds were naturally chaotic. As the last alien ships fled the Alpha Centauri system, Admiral Song Ji-woo realized something important. Humanity's greatest weapon was not their ships or their technology. It was their fundamental inability to fit into anyone else's expectations. Every other species in the galaxy followed predictable patterns, but humans were naturally unpredictable. The galaxy had badly underestimated the power of being impossible to predict. The largest war fleet in galactic history was heading straight toward Earth. Every ship that the 3 alien empires could build or repair had been gathered into one massive armada. Zephyrian hive ships stretched across space like a metal swarm of deadly insects. Corvin energy constructs glowed with the power to destroy entire planets. The Vicari psychic vessels moved through space like silent ghosts, ready to attack the minds of their enemies. The alien leaders had made a simple decision. The humans had disrupted 200 years of predictable warfare. They had to be stopped before they caused more chaos. Earth would be destroyed and humanity would be wiped out completely. Then the galaxy could return to its normal state of eternal war between the three empires. Admiral Song Ji-woo stood on the bridge of her flagship, the battleship Unbreakable Dawn. Through the main view screen she could see the human defense fleet spread out around Earth's solar system. They had every working ship that humanity could gather, military vessels, converted cargo ships, and even some passenger transports that had been fitted with weapons. The human fleet was vastly outnumbered. For every human ship, there were at least 50 alien vessels approaching. By all logical calculations, the battle should be over in minutes, with complete alien victory. But Song was not worried about the numbers. "Captain Yoon Tae-ho," she said to her second-in-command, "are all colonies ready?" "Yes, Admiral," Yoon replied. "Every human settlement has confirmed they're prepared for the plan. The rescue ships are in position, and the medical teams are standing by." Song nodded. "Then let's show the galaxy what humanity really stands for." As the alien armada entered the solar system, something strange began to happen. Instead of immediately attacking, many alien ships simply stopped moving. Commander Lee Hae-jin, Song's communications officer, looked up from her station with surprise. "Admiral," she reported, "we're receiving surrender requests from multiple alien vessels. They're not even engaging us." This was not what anyone had expected. Why would alien ships surrender before the battle even started? The answer became clear as the fighting began in earnest. Human rescue ships moved through the combat zone like guardian angels. When alien vessels were damaged by weapons fire, human medical ships rushed to help. They pulled injured aliens from burning spacecraft and took them to mobile hospitals where human doctors worked to save their lives. It did not matter that these were enemy soldiers, they were treated with the same care that humans would give to their own people. Lieutenant Colonel Park Min-ja led special diplomatic teams that boarded alien ships that wanted to surrender. She was a small woman with a gentle smile, but she spoke with authority and kindness that confused the alien crews. "You have two choices," she would tell the surrendering aliens through translation devices. "Join us in building something better, or return home with our promise that we harbor no ill will toward you or your people." This offer was completely alien to the three empires. In their wars, defeated enemies were either killed or enslaved. The idea that an enemy would offer medical care and safe passage home was so strange that many alien commanders thought it must be some kind of trick. But there was no trick. Human behavior was genuine. When Zephyrian drones were captured, they were given food and shelter. When Corvin energy beings were contained, they were kept in comfortable facilities and allowed to communicate with their home fleets. When the Carry telepaths were taken prisoner, they were treated with respect and offered books to read and music to listen to. The turning point in the battle came when Speaker Node Prime, the highest authority in the entire Zephyrian Empire, sent a direct message to Admiral Song. The Speaker Node was not just a single creature, but the collective consciousness of billions of Zephyrian minds linked together. When it spoke, it represented the thoughts and questions of an entire civilization. "Human leader," the message said in the clicking, buzzing language of the hive mind, "this collective does not understand your war methods. You defeat but do not destroy. You capture but do not enslave. Explain this paradox." Admiral Song smiled as she composed her reply. This was the question she had been waiting for. "Speaker Node Prime," she transmitted back, "we fight not to destroy our enemies but to protect what we love. When the fighting stops, we want to build peace, not rule over the ruins of our opponents." Across space, the massive Zephyrian hive mind processed this response. Peace. Building instead of destroying? These concepts were so foreign to their experience that their collective consciousness became confused and uncertain. Similar conversations were happening with the other alien empires. Corvin energy beings could not understand why humans would waste resources helping defeated enemies. The Carry psychics were amazed by human thoughts that focused on cooperation rather than domination. As the battle continued, more and more alien ships began surrendering. Not because they were forced to, but because they were curious about these strange humans who fought wars differently than anyone else in the galaxy. Some alien crews actually asked to join the human side, wanting to learn more about this new way of thinking. Dr. Kim Jae-sung, now serving as Director of Interspecies Relations, worked frantically to establish communication protocols with the surrendering aliens. His assistant, Captain Lee Ji-eun, helped coordinate the massive effort to house, feed and care for thousands of former enemies. "You know what's amazing?" Kim told Lee as they watched human medics treating wounded the Carry soldiers. 6 months ago, we didn't even know these species existed. Now we're saving their lives. By the end of the battle, something unprecedented had happened. The largest war fleet in galactic history had been defeated not by superior weapons or tactics, but by an idea. The idea that former enemies could become friends. The idea that war was not the only way to solve problems. The idea that different species could work together instead of trying to destroy each other. The galaxy had indeed shuddered, but not from fear. It shuddered from the radical possibility that 200 years of endless war might finally be coming to an end.